People have been recording ideas, feelings, events, reactions, their thoughts into diaries and journals for a millennia. From kings and queens, royal members of the courts, to scientists and inventors, botanists, writers and poets and musicians and composers, to artists and farmers and soldiers and ship captains and crew, to us regular ordinary folks. One of the things that I find fascinating is how differently people journal. I find it fascinating. From things like logs of accounting to a farmer's detailed information about their crops and what they planted, to a sea captain's log of their voyage. It's all different. It's all unique. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to share this, is because it is so different and unique. On the cover of this, you have around 27 or 28 pictures that show you diaries from people from all different eras in history. A variety of different kinds of people have kept journals, and they're fascinating. And in the foreword of this book, they talk about some of that. Remarkable Diaries. The world's greatest diaries, journals, notebooks, and letters. I love looking at the pages. On June 12th, 1942, Anne Frank, a young German Jewish girl living in Amsterdam, received a present, an autograph book with a lock. It was her 13th birthday, and she had chosen the diary from a local shop. The Frank family had left Frankfurt in 1933 after Adolf Hitler came to power. Anne's father, Otto, had then forged a career in Amsterdam, but Germany invaded the Netherlands in 1940. When Anne started her diary, there were already several restrictions on Jewish inhabitants of Amsterdam, but her early entries revel in birthday parties and ping pong clubs. I hope I will be able to confide everything to you, Anne wrote. But within weeks, the family had to go into hiding in a secret annex in her father's office, where she wrote her diary until the family was found by the Nazis 2 years later. Her words became for many the best known and most powerful diary in history, an unforgettable voice of one of the 6 million who died in the Holocaust. Memory is the diary that we all carry about with us, said Oscar Wilde. But so many of us never record our memories, or we start diaries in January and never finish them. This book compiles the diaries of those who did continue to write and found it a great solace. Politicians and rulers such as King Zai, Emperor, and Queen Victoria often kept diaries, but some of the greatest diarists were ordinary people who became witnesses to extraordinary events. Some of the diaries showcased here were written on papyrus, others on vellum, some were typed. Many are not diaries as we know them, but notebooks are the sketches and jottings of a genius such as Leonardo da Vinci. 6,000 observations on everything from physics to architecture, complete with astonishing drawings and inventions for flying machines. Some reveal the beginnings of a scientific system, as with Carl Linnaeus. Some were written to be read widely, others were private. Many were hidden, censored, or cut. Diaries can be dangerous. They bear witness, tell the truth. Some mark great heroism and bravery, such as the notebooks of Marie Curie, still so radioactive after she recorded her groundbreaking experiments that they have to be stored in a lead-lined box. Others provide fascinating insights into great creative minds. The brilliance of Vincent van Gogh, the creativity of Frida Kahlo, the innovative ideas of Antoni Gaudi, the intense vision of Charlotte Bronte and Leo Tolstoy, are the acid observations of Lady Murawski. All show us people's instinct to document their lives, no matter how painful. Captain Robert Falcon Scott kept a diary of his doomed expedition to the Antarctic in 1912. It's a pity, but I do not think I can write more, he wrote on the last day of his journal, as he lay dying. When his frozen body was found 7 months later, his diary was next to him. There are many diaries that we now find disturbing, those of explorers once honored as adventurers who seized land from native peoples and killed them when they tried to defend themselves, or those of European travelers who exploited local resources and young people. While most of these diaries represent humanity at its most generous, some do not. Diaries are among our greatest historical treasures. They bring a place, a person, the world to life. They are invaluable for the historian, the literature student, the sociologist, and the scientist. Through times of great change, upheaval, or suffering, people keep writing to save themselves, to know that they are still present, not alone. At its best, as Anne Frank proved, the diary reveals the triumph of the human spirit. Professor Kate Williams. I'm not going to read all of this. There's no clear-cut distinction between purely personal musings and diaries written with an eye to possible future publication. Journals are written to be read, if only by their authors, in the years to come. They often have written in code and kept locked to protect them from prying eyes. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read in the train. Oscar Wilde. That's Anne Frank. Diary of Anxiety by Kafka. Basho's journey in his celebrated travel diary, The Narrow Road to the Deep North. Inventive Notebooks, Renaissance genius Leonardo da Vinci. Mother's Letters, 18th century French aristocrat Madame de Sévigné to her daughter. There are all different kinds. So this is before 1500. So we're talking the age of pharaohs and before, like papyrus. If you think about it, the caves where people wrote in the caves, which was what, Mesopotamia, Sumeria, that was a form of journaling. So then we have letters like from Imperial Rome, an illuminated manuscript. We have travels in China. We have an ancient scroll, a tale of court life, a godly life, Christian mystic. This is describing a political execution. Notebooks of a genius. This is Da Vinci. Paintings cannot be taught to those not endowed by nature like mathematics. He was very detailed. And they give you examples and they give you a lot of information. So this is from 1500 to 1700. Explorer and scholar. Now, this is showing you all the different pages from diaries. And sometimes they have pictures of things that happen that they talk about in the diary. These were in the explorer's books where they drew the stuff. Adventures at Sea. Says Barlow's account is full of the perils of the seas. He recounts many instances of men dying from sickness in accidents or during sea battles. Here he depicts the experiment losing one of its masts in a storm while traveling to the East Indies. So these are people in the water. This is a combination of shorthand and ordinary writing. This is another witness to something, a witness to a fire. The Emperor's Diary, a letter to Madame de Grignan, a poet's journey. At the court of the Sun King, occasional notes in the margin summarize the contents of each section. Diaries, 1700 to 1800. This looks very much like nature journaling. The paper is so thin that the text from the following page shows through. The text records a meeting of several Quakers, including Henry Drinker, who are awaiting trial. This is an entry from May 16th, 1763, which describes Boswell's first meeting with Samuel Johnson. Boswell admired Johnson's knowledge and his expressive way with words. I shall mark what I remember of his conversation, he says. True to his word, he wrote with his great biography using information gathered from his conversations with Johnson. Captain Cook. It's a map. This is a journal of the second voyage. Cook's entry from May of 1773 shows his continuing concern with the crew's diet, instructing the cooks to serve vegetables, beneficial in removing all manner of scurvy complaints. Mozart's diary. Johann Wolfgang van Gogh. He went on a long tour of Italy and he traveled and recorded his journey and his impressions in the journal. He was already famous as a poet. He traveled under the pseudonym Johann Philipp Müller to avoid attention and retain his privacy. He said his aim was not only to explore Italy, but also to discover myself in the objects I see. As he traveled, his experiences led to a form of spiritual rebirth. Life in the colonies. See, very much like nature journaling. Aren't they beautiful? Diary of a Slave. A Voyage Around the World. An artist journal? Oh, isn't that cool? Like, look at this. Nothing is so real to me as the illusions I create with my paintings. The rest is shifting sand. Queen Victoria. Charlotte Bronte. She's got some art, some sketching and writing in hers. Henry David Thoreau. It's got stuff from like drawings and pressed flowers and stuff. Schumann, the musicians, Leo Tolstoy. See, I am not the only person that scratches stuff out. Not the only person who has issues with their handwriting either. I'm entomologist, the drawings and information. And then we go from 1800 to 1860, 1860 to 1900. John Muir, a conservationist. View from the vicarage, clergyman. Van Gogh, the artist. We have a Van Gogh, the writer, the poet. A sociologist. Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes. I like this. This is a tip-in. This is a tip-in. This fold-out watercolor shows whalers in rowing boats closing in on two whales. 1880. A tip-in in 1880. Drawing stuff right there. Beatrix Potter. And she drew little rabbits everywhere. Thomas Edison, whose handwriting, wow. Paul Gohan, the artist. A captain. An explorer. Marie Curie. And her radioactive journals. Virginia Woolf. She had stuff in her journals. She had little drawings and postcards and all kinds of things in hers. He's a painter. This is part of his. In detail, like all this information. That's two voices are given measurements of mass and quality. Isn't this really cool? Art does not reproduce the visible, but makes visible. The very nature of graphic art lures us to abstraction readily and with reason. A naval officer and an explorer. Kafka, more of Kafka. That's first paperback edition of Kafka's The Castle. The Red Book by Jung, a soldier, a war poet, an Egyptologist, Anais Nin. I have copies of her journals. They are fantastic. Orwell. So we get to 1940 and present. So this is where we have Anne Frank, and she included a number of things in hers. Pictures. Frida. Look at all the color. The different colors of ink and the doodles. Isn't this fantastic? This was in her journal. Sylvia Plath, I think some of hers are typed. Not all of them. These are handwritten. And then we get to, like, this is a day. This says voiceover 1. So there's a movie director, and he's got information for voiceover. He's got different things like notes and cards and things in his. Collage, ephemera. Hello. Look at this. Molly Lamb's sketch diary. These are the war records. And then that's it. And I wanted to show this, and I'm going to talk about it in a moment. I'll be right back.
I keep my notebooks very much in the sense of an artist's sketchbook. A hand, a face, a bottle, a glass, little things that don't fit together, a tree branch, just little bits and bobs.
I'm about to read something from A Walk Between Heaven and Earth, a personal journal on writing and the creative process. I'm going to put her name right here because I am not going to even try to butcher that. This is an entry. Every journal is a process of education for the writer and for the reader. The journal is a process of education through movement in the physical and metaphysical sense. Very few students today have any idea how one received an education before the invention of public transportation and before the printing press produced books for the masses. You walked, and you had a notebook, a sort of journal, and you took notes of what you saw and heard. Artists walked with their sketchbooks in Rome or Florence, and students walked to Paris or Milan or Prague to hear a learned man read from his notebook, his journal of sorts. And whatever you managed to collect through this process of traveling and listening and note-taking, that was your education. You came home with your notebook under your arm, and that was your book of learning. All that you learned on the journey out and all that you learned on the journey back home was your education. Those who were well off rode a horse or took a carriage, everyone else walked. But in any case, it was a quest that involved a day's stretch of time, a day's travel, a day's experience, and the book that recorded such a daily process became a journal and or a diary. Notebooks that record the daily experience through time were of course kept not just by students or scholars or artists who traveled on the road of education, but by many other travelers on the road of life. Darwin kept a journal on his travels to South America, and his detailed daily observations became the basis for his theory of evolution. Many a mother has kept a diary of the growth of her child or kept anxious notes about the course of a sickness. In each of these cases, the notebook was there to record a journey into the unknown. It is a record of the daily experience through time, of the daily steps toward a larger understanding, and in each case the writer assumed that by recording daily portions of his or her experience, the larger nature of the journey, of the earth, of life, of illness would become visible. Whether such a notebook is called a journal or a diary varies throughout history and seems to depend on what word was more fashionable in English at the time. She says that sometimes she's come across serious articles discussing the difference between a journal and a diary. The first part of both words means day, one from French, the other from Latin. Some people argue that a diary is more intimate than a journal, but I have read notebooks by scientists who called them diaries and notebooks by lovers who called them journals. So I think it is useless to make definitions. At the present time in America, a diary is often thought of as the intimate notebook of a teenager, while almost everyone else seems to write in a journal. I use the word journal because it is the standard term used today. It makes a little difference what you call the notebook or whether the content is personal or not. This is a particular form of writing that has to do with recording a journey, inner or outer, and the recording is done in daily fragments. For many of us, it's daily. This form of writing has to do with writing down a process, a movement through time, but writing it down in small steps. Some journal writers like to take their notebooks on a physical walk. Others move through a landscape of a metaphor, but all record the journey of life. I wanted to start with a bit of this because so many people that we have actual diaries of, journals of, where we can see them that are saved, are different. Virginia Woolf wrote in a couple of different varieties. She would write fiction and nonfiction. She did more of a diary style keeping, and she would do her writing. She said on April 20th of 1919, "But what is more to the point is my belief that the habit of writing, thus for my own eye only, is good practice. It loosens the ligaments, never mind the misses and stumbles." Writing is good for us. Too many people are worried about whether their journal writings are perfect or not. That's not what a journal's for. It's not about perfectionism. Anais Nin goes on to say, "You don't write for yourself or for others. You write out of a deep inner necessity. You are a writer, you have to write, just as you have to breathe, or if you're a singer, you have to sing. For those of us who are actual journal writers, we have to journal. It's just a part of who we are. And we feel weird, we feel strange, we feel naked, we feel undone, we feel there's something missing if we don't write in our journals." Natalie Goldberg, another writer, said, "Whether you are keeping a journal or writing as a meditation, it's the same thing. What's important is you're having a relationship with your mind." When it comes to hobbies that are beneficial, really beneficial to our well-being, journaling is probably in the very top category. Not only does journaling improve our mindfulness, but it lowers our anxiety and stress. It can boost our memory and confidence. It aids in clarity. It can help us identify patterns, mistakes, and errors that we make, especially when you are somebody like me who has ADHD, and I often lose my focus and become distracted and forget things. And a journal is really wonderful for that. It is a tool. It helps us identify and define our feelings, our thoughts, our ideas, experiences. It helps us process things. We can use it for memory keeping. It boosts our creativity, which is huge. It's probably one of the most common ways to be creative, and one of the best ways I can think of to boost my creativity. It's a useful practice because, one, it encourages capturing ideas, and two, self-reflection, and those are two of the big key skills for creativity. There's no right way or wrong way to journal. A lot of people embrace the more traditional type of journaling, which is written or text journaling. So all you need really is a notebook and a pen or a pencil, And then you just dedicate some time each day to capture your thoughts, ideas, feelings, with or without prompts. I do both kinds of journaling. The other kind of journaling is creative journaling. And it's a really good way, I think, to have fun. Physically and mentally, I have fun, but it's also stimulating because there are all those benefits that come with journaling. So, for me, creative journaling, and I'm going to tell you what that is, it's a mishmash of written words, diary or textile journaling, maybe both, and art, all in the same place, like an omni journal. You have things from written text journaling or diary kind of journaling, poetry, ideas, essay type writing, doodles, pictures, newspaper and or magazine clippings, collage, sketches, watercolor, all kinds of things. Anything, any of that, you can put in there. I have been journaling. How long have I been journaling? I've been journaling since I was 7 years old, and I am 55. It's a long time. 47 years. When I first started, it was one of those little pink diaries with the lock and key. It was like probably vinyl or pleather or whatever. I don't have any of those older journals. They all were ruined. I've had 2 sets of journals ruined over my lifetime. And it's okay. I really wish I had some of them. I started out Dear Diary journaling, and it grew, and I started adding in reflection, thoughts, ideas, notes to myself. By the time I was in middle school, I was adding pictures and cartoon strips, ticket stubs, and all kinds of stuff. Doodles. I used all this not acid-free stuff back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So I don't know that those journals would have been all that wonderful now anyway, 40-something years later. By the time I was in high school, gosh, journaling was definitely very smash book like. When I was younger, in my 20s and 30s, I did do some scrapbooking, but most of my scrapbooks are more like creative journaling / scrapbook, because so much scrapbook stuff is so expensive. I couldn't really afford all of that. So I did the best that I could. I would use wrapping paper from birthday or Christmas gifts and things like that. I used the tags off of things. I took pictures of different things and put it on top of like the wrapping paper, or like kind of collage the tag and the wrapping paper and the picture together. And I would write little things on index cards or post-it notes or type out things and add them. And I didn't always have the money for all that fancy stuff that comes with scrapbooking. I really enjoyed the process though. I did more personal journaling, more diary text written kind of journaling all throughout my 20s, 30s, and some of my 40s. I wrote a lot of poetry in my 30s and early 40s. I wrote down quotes from books and all kinds of things. I fell down the YouTube rabbit hole in the journaling community about 8 years ago, right after I first started YouTube, and fell down that rabbit hole. I was doing YouTube videos for NaNoWriMo. My anniversary for YouTube actually is next month. I will have been on YouTube for 8 years. My journaling has evolved. My writing has evolved. As I've gone through things, I've been able to identify patterns with my anxiety, patterns with the ADHD. I've learned better coping mechanisms and all these things. And one of the things that I really want to talk about, this is going to become a series. We're going to call it Journal Talk. And I'm going to do them I'm going to try to do them at least every other week. We can cover topics. If you would like to suggest some, that's perfect. The reason that I wanted to include the Remarkable Diaries book, and I wanted to talk about that, was because so many of us get hung up on the perfectionism on what our journals are supposed to look like, or they don't look like this person's, or this person's handwriting's better than mine, or this person's much neater, or I don't have all that stuff, I can't afford to do all that. You don't have to have all that. To be a creative journaler, you don't have to have all that. As a matter of fact, 2023 is going to be my budget year for journaling and planning. I'm not buying any more stickers. Whatever I get for 2023, unless I run out, I'm going to be using. As a matter of fact, I'm repurposing some things. I'm going to talk about that in the next video, because we can journal on a budget. We don't have to. For those of you who have the budget for stickers, for monthly kits and all of that, it's wonderful. But we don't all have that kind of money. Or if we do, maybe we'd rather not spend it on that kind of stuff, and we'd rather spend it on, say, a better cover, or more ink colors, or, you know, whatever. Because the amount of money that I could spend in stickers, I could have another fountain pen, or I could have like 4 or 5 different ink colors. I've only got a few, and I really like the waterproof ones. So there's a few different ones that Platinum makes that I would like. There's a few other ones that are made by Diamond, or made by all these other ones, like, not Diamond, Diatramentus. I've got London Fog by them. I've got a really pretty blue by Platinum that is waterproof. So I prefer waterproof simply because I have spilled stuff on my journals. I have gotten caught out in the rain, running in the rain with my journals. You know, and I know I've learned from past experiences. I got to thinking about all the money that I've spent on stickers and on washi tape. And I'm going to use what I have. I mean, I've got some stickers. I've got these stickers that came with my 2023 planner. It's a Snoopy planner. I've got stickers like this. Some stuff that's still in this one that I bought. I've got some stickers that are still in this. I've got a few things from like Happy Planner kind of stuff. And I've also got things that I created myself that I can print out on sticker paper, you know, if I want to. So I'm going to use what I have, and I've got a whole bunch of washi tape, and I'm going to use what I have. But I'm not buying any of those things in 2023, not for the rest of this year or for next year. I am going to be using what I have, and I'm going to be repurposing some notebooks that I've not finished to things that I can use, because as long as I date, I'm fine. Now, I am going to also be revamping how, like, I'm going to call it my journal system. Talked a lot, and I'm probably going to talk some more about my planner system, but I got to thinking about it, and what I do for my planner system is different than what I do for my journal system. Now, I am creative everywhere. And I'm going to talk about this. I talk about this in another video, but this is my 2023 Hobonichi Cousin. It's the English version. And what I did, for example, is I went in on some of the holidays. You're not going to be able to see it, but I did some balloons for people's birthdays. That one was my mom's. I did a little heart for Valentine's Day. I did the car with the Christmas tree and the ho-ho hat. There we go. I'm going to use what I have, and I do have some really cute stickers, but I don't have all of the months. You know, I'm going to use what I have. And I'm going to be doodling things myself instead of purchasing stickers. This will help not only my drawing, but it will help my budget. And I've been thinking for a long while about budgeting in general, and how important it is. Yes, there are a lot of people who planning and journaling, that's their hobby, and they have a budget for the stickers and the things like that. But if I added up, or other people added up, how much money they spent on Etsy or on Amazon or on websites for stickers alone, stickers and washi tape alone, how much would you have spent? I know it's way too much for me. I used to do a lot of it more myself. I got into trying out stickers, and they're gorgeous. And I do still, every now and again, have been over this year picking up stickers from, say, Hobby Lobby every now and again. I have some autumn stickers. They're gorgeous. But I got to thinking about it, and the more that I got to thinking about it, the more I was like, well, wow. And one of the reasons is that this one specifically, it's called Paper House Life Organized Seasonal Sticker Book. The sun, man, I'm so sorry. And they look like watercolor drawings. And I'm like, I could do this myself. So I went about trying to do some of them myself, and I did. And I did a really good job. And I was like, oh, wow. So the more that I thought about it, the more I was like, yes, I could so do this myself. I'm going to be doing owls, pumpkins. Everything is going to have an owl in it for October. And as a matter of fact, around the end of October is when it starts to actually get kind of chilly around here. Some of the nicest weather. So I'm probably going to use this cute little owl sticker right here. I'll probably use, you know, these are winter things. This is actually for January. So you can see, like, they're beautiful, beautiful stickers. That's a penguin. There's an owl. There's an owl. I've got some of this stuff, and I'm going to use what I do have. I'm not really good at lettering, but they're cute. I wish I could get another one of these books. I would love to have 3 or 4 of these, to be honest. But the more that I've thought about it, the more I'm like, well, I could do this myself. Now, if I do get some Amazon money, affiliate money, I will most likely, and I will leave a link to this below, I will probably get one of these, and I won't use it. I will use it to draw from, because I am missing some of these, and I will use it to draw from. Journaling is extremely important to me, and I do like adding stickers, especially to these kind of journals, my planner journal. So I do add things from magazines and stuff like that. And I do add stickers and I do stuff. But I print out things myself, you know, and I draw things myself. And it's so much fun when you're doing some of that stuff. I can do a lot of it. And I'm thinking to myself, why am I buying stickers when I could do a lot of this myself? These I created. This I created myself. This I created myself. This, all of that I created myself. I guess it would help if you could see it. I created these. All of these myself. This is a book I'm going to be talking about pretty soon. What is holding you back from being as free in your journal as you want to be? I know what's been holding me back. Part of it's making excuses for, well, I don't have the budget for that, or I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. I'm not very good at doing that. So the more that I've been thinking about it, the more, this is me practicing with watercolor and gouache. This is watercolor. This is where I tried the different paper. This was the new Tomo River paper, and this is the old Tomo River paper. And this paper that's in this journal is 68 GSM. Now, somebody asked about different journals that have 68 GSM Tomo River paper. I will talk about that in another video because there are quite a few. So I'm going to do a journal series. We're going to do a journal talk series, and it's going to be part of my coffee chat series. So that's why I said, you know, I could actually do one every week, or it could be every other week, or it depends, you know. But we're going to talk about journals, and we're going to talk about journaling. And I'm going to cover some of the things. For next year, I'm going to be using an A6 that I repurpose out of the journals that I have instead of buying another A6 Hobonichi. I thought about getting an A6 day free, and that might be what I do, or I might just set up my own A6 day free. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to talk some more about different things like that. I've got my sketchbook. This is my idea journal notebook. It's more of like a studio. I do all kinds of creative journaling in it. This is some poetry here. I've got all different kinds. I showed some of this, and this is the journaling that I did when the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial was going on. This is a class that I was taking, and I did that. This is some stuff that I got in Happy Mail. This is journaling about September in the Omni Journal. This was some more journaling and some more journaling. You know, I've got all different kinds of stuff in this journal. I've got some blank pages. As I continue in this, I would appreciate your thoughts if there's anything that you'd like for me to cover specifically. If you have any questions, any suggestions, anything, let me know in the comments below, please. And I will try to leave a link to some of the things that I talked about in the video, like this book, these stickers, the Remarkable Diaries book in the description for y'all. And I hope that you've enjoyed this. How do you journal? Do you have one style of journaling, or do you do multiple kinds of journaling? Do you do all of the journaling in one book and then like you're planning in a separate book? Do you have a bullet journal and a planner, or a planner or just a bullet journal? Do you bullet journal and journal in all in one, like in an Omni journal? Do you have them, your journals, like I have separate things for certain things, and then one thing that kind of anything and everything can go in? Y'all let me know in the comments below, and we'll do some more journal talk soon. Thank you, and have a great one, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye, y'all.